But it is my pleasure to introduce our next keynote speaker for today, Antonio Doss. On March 26, 2021, Mr. Doss was appointed the Deputy Associate Administrator for the Office of Government Contracting and Business Development of the of SBA. In his role, he serves as the principal advisor to formulate and recommend policies that establish standards and procedures for the operation, improvement, execution, and oversight of small business contracting programs across the federal government. His responsibilities include, but not are limited to, implementation of the 8A Business Development Program, the Hub Zone Program, the Women-Owned Small Business Program, and the SBA Mentor Protege Program. From 2013 to 2020, Mr. Doss served as District Director of the Washington Metropolitan Area District Office, where he and his team provided technical assistance to the SBA's largest portfolio of firms participating in the 8A Business Development Program. In previous roles with SBA, Mr. Doss was Director of the SBA Office of Grants Management, and for 7 years served as the Associate Administrator of SBA's Office of Small Business Development Centers. Mr. Doss earned a bachelor's degree in management from Robert Morris College. He is also a graduate of Leadership Maryland, so am I, and the Consumer Bankers Association's Graduate School of Bank Management at the University of Virginia. So please join me in welcoming Antonio Doss. Hi there. We missed the intro, right?
I'm sure it was all great.
It was.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's one of my more fun introductions. I missed it. Well, first, let me just say it's nice to be here. I'm not sure if how true this is for most of you, but as far as I can tell, this is my first physical in a hotel conference with small businesses for a year and a half, maybe 2 years. Feels like it's a long, long time. We all feel that way. Yeah. So it's nice to see you in 3D. You're not those little icons with a couple initials in your picture or something to that effect, and no one can really freeze today. So this is good. I'm usually the one that's freezing, it turns out. So thank you very much for the introduction. In all seriousness, I appreciate it. And I wanted to just commend and congratulate you for actually putting on the conference. And from all accounts, it's been a great conference. You've had great attendance. You have great presenters. You had our administrator come and participate in a fireside chat. And, SBA administrators don't always make all of the government contracting conferences. And in fact, I think in a lot of cases, they probably don't really make the Hub Zone specific conference. So that was, I think, a pretty cool thing that she showed up for this. But yeah. It's symbolic of what Administrator Guzman is. She's very interested in government contracting. And it's not to say other administrators haven't had an interest, but she's really interested in government contracting. And she pays a lot of attention to what we're doing in the Office of Government Contracting and Business Development. She is very on point for all things government contracting related. And so that's a real nice advantage for us that work in that division, because somebody's paying attention to the good work that we're doing. So we're thrilled. And I would say also, she recognizes that we're the group within SBA that's most focused on helping to drive revenue. And there's a lot of conversation that always takes place about the value of access to capital. Access to capital is always really, really, really important. But so is access to growing your retained earnings, your equity, your capital, and your balance sheet. And that all happens when you have revenues. It happens when you have profitability, and it increases when you increase both revenues and profitability. And that's really what our interest is trying to help you build a better balance sheet so you can develop, grow, and sustain really strong, successful companies. So I want to just, again, congratulate you for what you've been able to do already with this conference. I also want to congratulate and thank you for your help on getting us more Hub Zone certified census tracts into the system. These kind of things are partnerships in a lot of cases. There's some things that we push on within the agency, some things you push on from externally, that all help and make a difference. So we definitely appreciate your partnership. And I wanted to do a shout out also to my teammates, Lori Gillen and Bruce Purdy, and really the entire Hub Zone team. These folks for the past several years have really been pushing to make big improvements in the way the Hub Zone program works. They've done it with greater clarity around how the program functions. The information they put out has been great. The flexibilities that they put in place, particularly related to COVID, has been really, really important. And they're looking at and continuing to do things to improve the speed at which we can get Hub Zone applications reviewed and approved. So hats off to Lori, to Bruce, and the entire Hub Zone team. I want to commend you. So I see familiar faces in the audience, which is great. I see faces that I don't quite as well know, and I know my bio is read, but I just want to give you a little bit of additional background or context. So I've started my professional career in banking and had every intention of staying in banking for, until they gave you the ring and the watch and sang for "He's a Jolly Good Fellow," and that didn't happen. So, but when I was in banking, one of the things I spent a lot of time doing was managing our community development banking programs and being in touch with low and moderate income communities, being in touch with underserved marketplaces, being a bridge between the bank and the communities, helping the communities understand the bank, helping the bank understand low and moderate and underserved communities, which the bank generally didn't understand. And that was a really nice set of work that myself and my colleagues were engaged in. And I think we all really enjoyed it. And so when I came to the point of switching careers, coming to SBA was a bit of a natural, because it had this great mission about helping small businesses, and particularly having a lot of different programs that are focused on helping low and moderate income communities, and as well as small businesses, if you will. And so it was a natural kind of a transition. I was fortunate to work in our Office of Small Business Development Centers, where I got a chance for really 7 years to work with a group of business-minded coaches and counselors and trainers across the country to help improve the level of knowledge that small businesses have as they run their companies. Then I transitioned into being in the role of the district director for our Washington Metropolitan Area District Office. And that was a really great experience as well, because not only did I get a chance to understand what the businesses were facing, I really got a chance to know a lot of the businesses. I got a chance to sit in the classrooms, in the sessions that they were in, and I could hear what the instructors and the trainers were telling them. But I got even more value out of hearing the conversations that those business owners had across the table, across the training room, and understanding more about the issues and the challenges and the needs that they had. And I was very gratified to see the collaborative attitude and the way a lot of business owners connected with one another and built partnerships. So all of those things kind of framed out nicely for the opportunity to join the Office of Government Contracting and Business Development as the Deputy Associate Administrator. And so now I get to work with a group of people who pretty much people I worked with as a district director, but I'm working with them more closely. And I got to tell you, we have a really, really fantastic group of executives who are running our major government contracting programs, that are running the 8A program, our Hub Zone program, our policy program. You'll hear from Sam Lee a little bit later here today, and our government contracting program in general. So it's a fantastic group. They're really, really committed, and I see it day to day. So they're really committed. They've got great expertise. They got strong energy drive, and they're doing the kind of things that I think are going to continue to have positive impacts on you as business owners. So it's really a pleasure to be able to work with this group. I wanted to share a couple of updates on things that are happening within the SBA in the government contracting space. And a lot of this is kind of like that, the duck whose feet are paddling. Nobody sees the feet paddling, but they are paddling. And I think that's a lot of our work right now. It's under the surface. And so how many of you have worked with Certify before? Certify.sba.gov? A couple hands. How many of you enjoyed working with Certify.sba.gov? Fewer hands. So we are looking at ways to improve that. Certify is our lead system, and we are doing some work to prioritize it. It's been prioritized as a key agency item where we want to improve and fix the way Certify works. Ultimately, we're working towards a place where we can have a system that will allow us to bring in applications smoothly and easily for the customer, make it easier for our staff to actually execute on those applications so we can have better turnaround, better communication, and a smoother transition from application to approval process. And there's a whole thing about reporting and some other elements to it that we also know will be beneficial to the agency. But Certify is one of those systems, and we're working on this really as a whole agency. So it's not just the Office of Government Contracting and Business Development. It's not just one of our components. It's our Hub Zone team. It's all of our teams working on this, including the key people who are part of our Chief Information Office and our CFO's office. So it's everybody's on board, which is really, really good. The CVE program at the Veterans Administration is coming to SBA. By way of the National Defense Authorization Act, they said, thou shalt move the CVE program from the Veterans Administration to the SBA by January 1, 2023. So for anybody that thinks 2023 is a long ways away, if you got a new program coming in, it's like next week. And so we have been working very closely with the Veterans Administration on how that transition will work. We're doing an approach which we refer to as a lift and shift. The idea being we want to take as much of what they already have that's working really, really well and incorporate that in the way we operate the program within SBA. We know we're going to have some additional volumes because there's some components of CVE that are going to be expanded. There's going to be some businesses that are going to need to get certified that were only self-certified. So there's a lot that's coming with that, but we've got great cooperation. There's still some funding elements that we're still working out because the NDA didn't give us an unlimited budget to make this transition happen, but we will work through that, and we've got good cooperation building with the VA even on that front. So more to come there. We've already transitioned the WOSB program, and when the WOSB program came in for certification, we really got a truckload of women-owned small businesses looking for certification. It definitely created a backlog. We definitely didn't have as many people and the system in place to handle the initial volume of applications we got. But we are improving on that. We have established a pre-screener approach, and we're doing some additional and different things to beef up the pre-screening opportunities to review those applications on the front end, trying to, in essence, get all the applications through as quick as we can, identify those ones that we can kind of fast track and push those through as quickly as possible. Some of them are always going to require additional feedback and work with the analyst who's reviewing the case, but we're working through those as well. From a government contracting perspective on the scorecard, we really had a great year with the federal government contracting. The government got a letter grade A, which is always a good thing. We had very high volumes of contracting activity. The federal budget keeps increasing, and we keep increasing the percentages of spend that are going to the small businesses. We had $145 billion in spending this past year to small businesses, and 26.01% was the small business participation in that. I remember really just what seems like a few short years ago, we couldn't get to 23%. So we're getting to 26% now on a bigger budget than we were not getting to 23% on. So that's good. That's good news for sure. That Hub Zone goal, Oh, that HUBZone goal of 3%. We have yet to get there. We keep trying. We're making progress. There's a lot of interest in it. This was really probably our best year in terms of dollars and numbers or percentage in terms of contract awards, but we still have work to do in the HUBZone front, on the HUBZone front, and we'll continue to push in that regard. The President has made a commitment also to increasing more government contracting spending, and he specifically referenced the small disadvantaged business goal, which is currently at 5%, projecting a tripling of that goal to 15%. And that makes sense. We're already over 10% the last 2 years. So 5% goal when you're achieving 10% is really not a relevant goal. So we're looking to boost that up to 15%. And we think that will help create additional impact on companies like yours in terms of being able to have additional contract activity. I'm sure the administrator mentioned about the new manufacturing office. Is that one of the things you talked about yesterday? And Lori Gillen is going to be heading up that. That's a huge initiative for the agency. We've not had a program focused on a specific industry like manufacturing, as far as I can tell, ever within the agency. So it's a really, really big commitment. Manufacturing, of course, is huge. We saw the downside of not having enough manufacturing capabilities show up in a big way during COVID, where we had to, in essence, go outside of the country to get products that we should have been able to produce inside the country much more readily. So we're looking forward to being able to be a part of that and making sure that small business is at the forefront of that. And again, it goes back to the leadership that we get from our administrator, Administrator Guzman, our Associate Administrator for Government Contracting and Business Development, BB Hidalgo, all saying, if we're going to be growing manufacturing, we have to make sure small business has a place in that, because that's where the innovation comes, and we know that small business can create great opportunities to improve our manufacturing capabilities. The 7J program is one we've been modestly funded for a bunch of years now. We're looking at a tripling of that budget. So this is education and training available to small businesses that are 7J eligible. And what that's going to mean is, if the President's budget carries through, we'll have a lot more capabilities to deliver training support. I'm a big person on training and professional development for anyone, but particularly a business owner. There's so much to know, often so much that we don't know as business owners. And if you're not sharpening your pencil daily, weekly, monthly, annually, you're probably falling behind some of your competitors who are. So this 7J training funding will give us an opportunity to do a lot more than what we were doing before. And then I think the biggest thing maybe that we've got right now, and this would be like the big duck with the paddle under the water, is really looking at how do we change the trajectory of government contracting. We've had a lot of volume of contracts. Our dollar amounts are jumping every year. But what we're seeing is that the dollar amount of contracts is not consistently representing the number of small businesses that are participating in the government contracting space. And so we're seeing significant declines in the number of new entrants that are getting contracts. We're seeing significant declines this past decade in the number of businesses who are getting prime contracts. We're seeing increases in the number of businesses who are going after fewer contracts because there are few available for small businesses. And so that's been a major focus of our whole office within government contracting and business development. And it's really nice to be able to say also that our focus is not just within SBA. There's a whole government focus around this. And so it includes working with our partner entities and agencies across the federal government, including offices like the Office of Federal Procurement Policy, OMB. And so we're working on ways to reform category management, to increase opportunities for more small businesses to get access to contracts, to really look at what do we incentivize in the way we set goaling for our contracting. And as all of you know, whatever it is that gets measured is what gets done. And so we're very mindful of that, and we're doing some things that hopefully in the not too distant future we'll be able to share more about, that I think will help you see that there's some new opportunities to grow your small business contracting. Lastly, I just want to round out my remarks with a couple other points. One is just to emphasize, we're here to really help you. I know it's probably been said, and our president should say that in some respects as well, but our goal is to help make you as successful as we can. And that's something that across the agency we're very, very committed to doing. From our perspective, we should be able to help create opportunities, more contract vehicles, more contract dollars available, more contracts period available to you. You know, part of your job is to make sure you're looking at and pursuing the right opportunities. One of the things that I experienced with my time in the district office was a lot of businesses were aggressively going after work. Sometimes they were going after work that they really had no chance of getting. And I'm sure everyone here has probably put in at least one bid somewhere along the way that you didn't win. And I think most of you love it was just only one bid. And nothing's worse, I think, than coming in number 2, except for if you come in like number 30, which meant you really had no shot at all, and yet you pursued it. So anything you can do to help strengthen and sharpen what opportunities you pursue, which ones you decide to go after, to make sure that you're pursuing those that are more probable for you to get a chance to get the award is important. And we're hoping then that once you get the award, that not only do you get the award, but you perform on it well, you develop a nice track record, you get those great CPARs ratings, and simultaneously, every time you do that, you're sending a message to all the buying activities that are aware that it's you as a HubZone company, that it's you as a small business, that you're actually able to really come in and perform this work very admirably. And there are people who don't always believe a small business or a HubZone or an 8A or any of these companies can necessarily do the work that some larger firms can do. So every time you do it well, you're making a statement for the whole group of small businesses, whether it's HubZone or any of the other categories. So we encourage you to pursue the right opportunities, and once you get it, make sure you do everything you can do to perform admirably on those opportunities. The last thing is just, as I said, we're here to help. We do have a tremendous amount of resources and support. If you're not connected with your local district office, I encourage you to do so. There's always training, there's always events, there's other things that are happening that you can be in touch with to get additional support. We've got a fantastic group of resource partners with our small business development centers, SCORE, our women's business centers. We even have veterans business outreach centers. There's a lot of different ways you can be connected. And these folks have experience. They work with business owners, a lot of government contractors. I know at our SCORE chapter in DC, excellent SCORE mentors. And I encourage you to let their expertise be part of what your expertise is, to get that connection. And if you're building your own internal capabilities, you know, these folks can help you do that. We also have great programs, whether you're looking at the mentor protege program or the joint venture or the joint venture program, as another way to really boost your skill set and your capabilities. These are all things that SBA is really glad to be a part of, and we were really, really supportive of you. We want to see you do very well. We're glad that we're able to actually be in person here today, and I really thank you for allowing me a few minutes just to share some updates on what's happening within SBA and the government contracting space. So thanks to you.